Welcome to episode 7 of 10 of me trying to find the best book recommendations for me on the internet, specifically horror books. In this episode, I will be trying out the Storygraph's recommendation system. They have a quiz that you do for your personal preferences. Seems very calculated and scientific, so hopefully we can trust them. I'm going to find out by reading 3 books. One can be from an author I've read from and loved, one has to be by a new to me author, and the third one can be another new to me author or an author I've read from and disliked. If you've missed the previous episodes, there is a playlist linked in the description for you to check out. I do go over the ranking at the end of this episode, so if you don't want to be spoiled, check that out first. I love the Storygraph. It is my primary place of tracking my reads. I haven't gotten recommendations from them before though, so I'm very excited to do it now. I'm so excited to pick my first book from the Storygraph's recommendations. So if you are on their main page, you can scroll down, like almost immediately it says recommendations. So I'm gonna go to the horror picks. Ooh, okay, I'm already so excited. Okay, Kin is one that I absolutely want to read. I have given 2 of his novellas 5 stars. One of them is my favorites of this year. But let's see what else there is. Kin is definitely a high contender. Oh, I haven't read a Ronald Malfi. Interesting. Ooh, okay, actually, I think... Okay. I might be doing The Grip of It because I own it and I've heard good things about it. But let's just scroll through and see what else is on here. A Certain Hunger. I don't think I'm going to read that. I just don't think that that's my kind of book. There's a lot of stuff on here I haven't heard of. Sorrowland I'm very interested in. Also interested in Mothered. Okay, so there are some good options on here. But I am going to start with an author I have not read from before. Okay, I own this one. I haven't read from this author before, and I'm definitely trying to get one of those in. So I am going to read The Grip of It. This is some sort of haunted house story. That is all I'm aware of, and I'm very excited for it. So I'm going to read some of the book, as one does in a reading vlog, and I'll check in with you soon. I've started The Grip of It. I am 90 pages in, which is about a third, and I just have to say that there's something about this cover that really works for me. I just it's so weird. It's strange. It's like a kid's drawing. Anyway, so we are following James and Julie, and they are having some issues, so they decided to move to this new house together. James has a gambling problem that has caused them to lose a decent amount of money. They are not completely broke because of it, because they have these separate accounts. So they are able to move to this town, and they find this really good deal on this house that's been on the market for a decent amount of time and no one's been interested in it, which is a red flag, especially if it's this incredible deal, you think. But when they're touring the house, the real estate agent is bringing attention to these weird noises, trying to be oh yeah, don't worry about that. That's just the house settling, nothing ominous here. But there's a noise that is deep and vibrating like throat singing in the house, which is odd. But they buy the house anyway. They move to this town because they are desperately in need of a fresh start. And then weirder things are starting to happen. Julie is getting these extreme bruises out of nowhere, and she has no memory of it. There's weird noises in the night, breaths on their neck, things like that. And things within the house are starting to change as well. The idea of this is similar to some other things that I've read recently with the house itself having something going on with it. I am liking it. I'm not completely invested, but also it feels like a unique kind of twist on a story like this because of the way that it is physically impacting, especially Julie. I think usually it feels more of the vibes are weird and there's maybe possibly something going on, but with bruises and stuff like that, it's hard to deny that these kinds of disturbances are happening. The idea of things disappearing and changing kind of in front of their eyes is fun. I do think I could use a little less of their personal relationship and more of the creepy stuff, but also the creepy stuff is still there and I'm having a good time. I have made it to chapter 63, which is 184 pages in the grip of it, and I feel like it lost me a little bit. I'm trying really hard to not compare this to We Used to Live Here because they are both ones that have like a house that is a prominent feature in the book. In this one, I feel like we are focusing too much on their feelings separate of things happening to them. And that is because the things that are happening to them are more like not in the moment. I mean, they are, like, our main character gets these bruises and a lot of times they just kind of show up and we aren't really aware of why these things are happening. So I just feel like I don't get the tension because it's not happening in the moment. And I don't really know how this could be done differently because everything is such an unknown, and like the way that it's set up, like it makes sense that this is the way that it's done. That being said, there's just something about it that's not completely working for me. And I think it's also that like I don't care about these characters, and I feel like we're supposed to be kind of invested in them and their relationship kind of, and I'm just not. But I do think it's interesting enough. I'm liking it. And also maybe I have read too many similar books in such a short time frame. I feel like there's this one, We Used to Live Here, and another one. I can't think of what it is at the moment, but I think it's just like too many similar things at once. So like that's partially on me, but also not. So yeah, I'm liking it. I do have some complaints. It's such a quick read. I feel like every chapter is like 2 pages. Like here's this one, here's this one. So it's not even like 2 full pages. So it reads so quick. And it's good, but not a favorite. I'm kind of sad about it. Oh, but also, like, the cover stuff is coming to play, and I do like that. I feel like I'm in an interrogation room with my lack of background, but I'm doing some reorganizing, some, like, setting up of some fun, it's fun for me, things in my library office space. So this is what you're getting right now, so sorry. I have finished the grip of it. Okay, what to say? I feel like continually my enjoyment lessened as this book went on. I think that I just like didn't get the ending, honestly. It's not that I was unaware of what was happening, but like I don't know what happened. I don't know. I just feel like the beginning of this had a lot of really good moments. It had creepy stuff going on and I enjoyed the setup of everything, but I think that it got too in our characters' minds and focused on their internal reaction and not specifically their internal reaction to the external things. I really don't know if that makes any sense, but I just feel like this was too introspective for me from the characters. The characters were supposed to be what you were invested in, I feel, not... I mean, yes, the plot, but, like, the characters then the plot. And I feel like in a story like this, I want it to be the plot more or the vibes more, and then the characters, like, supporting that. This had some good ideas, but the execution just wasn't a favorite for me, sadly. I do think I'm going to rate this 3 stars, though, because I really enjoyed the beginning and the setup and parts of the things that continue to happen. Like, I can appreciate what the author was trying to do, even though, like, I just don't get it. So 3 stars for the grip of it, which means we're starting off with 30 out of 50 points for the Storygraph. If we're being honest, I am a little sad about this being the start. I mean, 3 stars is still a book that I generally enjoyed. I'm not trying to be biased, but I kind of wanted the Storygraph to win or be in the top 3. Could it be in the top 3? I don't know. I don't feel like doing math right now because I would rather pick another book and continue reading. I'm gonna be using my phone for the Storygraph this time. It's the same setup, but I just felt like doing this. I don't know. So we are in the horror picks area, the same place we got a pick from last time. I also would really love to find one from an author I have read from and liked on this list, because I feel like that's the hardest one to fit in, and I want to make sure that I get that. So that would be ideal. Or something from my shelves. So let's see what they have. Baby Teeth scares me. Camilla Bruce. No, I read Camilla Sten. Oh, Pine. Robert McCammon. The Pallbearers Club. And Final Girl Support Group. Cool. Okay. Both of those are 5-star authors for me. Oh, I've read Wendy Webb, Rivers Solomon, Laura Lippman, Samantha Schweblin. There's 2 Wendy Webbs. Interesting. Josh Mallerman. Ooh, Darcy Coates. There's Can again. Okay. I think I'm in between hi Winston, the Final Girl Support Group and Pallbearers Club, but I'm gonna have to go with the Pallbearers Club. I own it. And Paul Tremblay personally said that I'm in the club, so I feel like I have to read it. I was worried about reading the Pallbearers Club because I have heard people complain that it's kind of slow, there's not really much horror, nothing really happens, it's pretentious, but I'm loving it. Okay, so Paul Tremblay is an interesting one because I have had a mixed history with him. I did pick him as an author that I have read from and liked because I've liked more than disliked. Oh, how many have I read? 4? I gave The Cabin at the End of the World 4.5 stars. A Head Full of Ghosts 4 stars. I did not like The Disappearance of Devil's Rock. I gave that one 2 stars. And then I gave Horror Movie 5 stars. And this one has been compared the most to Horror Movie. So I was really excited, and I wasn't going to let the one that I didn't like kind of change my opinion on his books. But this is kind of all of those things that people were saying. Not much has happened. It is so character focused. It's so pretentious. There's just like something about it. But it's just like, I don't know. I'm really, really enjoying it. I just am liking the vibes. Like, it's a good time. I felt the same way about Horror Movie. I feel like not a lot happened, but also I was so invested. So we are following Art Barbara, which is pretentious, like, as a name. It's not his, like, birth name. He just decided that that's what he was going to go by. And he's writing this memoir, and it's about his time in high school when he starts the Pallbearers Club. He is doing this to get, like, good marks on his college application resume thing. I'm so well spoken. Because he wants to get into a school that is far away from home. And he starts the Pallbearers Club where he volunteers at a local funeral home, attending funerals for these people that don't have many attendees. They don't have people to kind of be the pallbearers, like carry the caskets, which is like kind of cool. Because, I don't know, there are people, like, there's homeless people, there's older people who don't really have any family, all this stuff, who don't have anybody to, why am I getting emotional? To be there for them. And that itself is just, like, this inherent form of loneliness and, like, not fitting in, even if it's just for that moment in your life. What is happening to me? Okay. And our main character doesn't feel like he really fits in at all. He doesn't really have any friends. Nobody joins this club to start other than one person that kind of takes it as a joke, and then another person who's doing it just to be nice because, like, she knows that no one is really going to join. So it's 3 people for the first meeting and the first funeral, and then he puts up all these flyers everywhere, and a character, Mercy, who is a college student, like at the local community college, she shows up and decides to join, and then they form this very unlikely friendship, and very early on, the Pallbearers Club just turns into the 2 of them, and she has this thing where she, like, takes pictures of dead people, and she's, like, looking for something in the photos. So in the memoir, Mercy has gotten a copy of it, and is writing in it in red ink. So there are some pages that are just like pages of that, but then there's also like little comments in the margins, which I just think is so cool. And in the audiobook, we are getting Art Barbara's male narrator, and then we are having a female narrator who is Mercy, like kind of jumping in, which I'm really enjoying. And I don't know, there's just like something about watching these 2 like kind of weirdos forming this friendship and this relationship and seeing how they are interacting with each other because of those things. And it truly is so pretentious. Like, I don't know. Because I feel like sometimes that doesn't work for me, but when Paul Tremblay does it, I'm so into it for some reason. This is kind of a vampire book, but also not really. There are vampires kind of in the somewhat central plot, but also not really. I don't know how to explain this, but clearly it's making me emotional. It's getting to me and I'm really liking it. So I'm gonna get back to my diamond painting and keep reading, and I will check in soon. Okay, so I'm only 50 pages further, but I feel like I mentioned that the Pallbearers Club is very pretentious. The writing itself is, but here's this thing that I want to tell you about because I have a little, it's not a rant, but I just want to talk about it. So in the last vlog, I mentioned like issues with classical piece and like saying that I have like a background in music and stuff, and there's this really got me. I'm a very big nerd. Okay, so there's a joke that's made that's like barely a joke, but if you get it, you get it. Oh my god, I feel pretentious talking about this. Okay, so like he literally just, it says my head was full of, and then in parentheses it says Philip, and then out of parentheses Glass. And Philip Glass is a composer and a pianist, and it just like really got me because Philip Glass is like such a very cool minimalist composer, and I in college was in a saxophone quartet and we actually played one of his pieces. So like this little joke was made, and then there's also like a side comment about it from Mercy, and then I was like, oh, I have to listen to this. So I went and listened to the piece that I had played when I was in college, and it just like brought back memories from that, and I'm just like, I have not thought about Philip Glass in years. And then I listened to that and just like thought about learning the piece, and just I don't know, but that's just like how pretentious this book is. Does anybody else know who Philip Glass is? If you are weirdly curious, the piece that I played and the one I just listened to was his string quartet number 3. It's the closing part, I believe, Mishima. I don't know, it's so good. So I just listened to it. I forgot how obsessed I was with that piece. Like, it's just so good. Anyway, so there's the pretentious stuff for you. There's just like things like that throughout it. Comments that are made, little like side things. So you're just like, are you a real person? But then there's things like this that I'm like, yes. So I'm just having the best time. Seriously. So I just wanted to share that with you. Share another huge music nerd moment. I feel like more so than the Ave Maria thing from the last one. But it also made me really excited, so there's that. I wanted to film a vlog clip with both of the cats here because they're just hanging out on the couch and it's so cute. Okay, so I have made it 2/3 roughly into the Pallbearers Club. I'm on page 198, and like, why am I so obsessed with this? Because I feel like one of my big complaints in books is like, oh, nothing's happening, I'm bored. And like, nothing is happening, but I'm so into it. There's just something about Paul Tremblay's writing in this kind of style that is just like really interesting to me. I am loving all of the music references. Not everything is like music I've listened to or anything like that, but it's just like so fun. So where I am now, we have jumped into the, I guess now present, I don't know, far in the future from where we started. Our Barbara is now jumping between bands, like performing, doing shows. He doesn't stick with anyone for very long. He has no contact with Mercy after this event that happens when they're like kind of close to the time they first met. But then they have this encounter after one of his shows, and they just have this instant connection to each other. They aren't really a good pair, but they are at the same time, and it's so interesting to watch. I'm also just really loving the style of this book. I like that we're getting the memoir from Art and kind of learning his take on things, but then also we learn that he's unreliable according to Mercy through a lot of her comments, and she's very funny, and I'm just truly enjoying like getting her commentary on this story. There has been like a little bit of creepy moments towards the end of where I just stopped, but I don't have a lot to say about the plot itself. We're really just like watching them over time interacting with each other. Where I am right now, there's guitar tabs going on, and there's actually, I think, 4 songs that were recorded from bands that Art was in, and then somebody made a playlist of all of the songs that were mentioned in this book. It's like almost 10 hours of music. I don't know, I'm just really into how involved this is. It's truly such a fun time, but I absolutely would not recommend this to a lot of people. Look at them. Hi, Winston. Hi, Nova. Nova, you're ignoring me. Thanks. I finished the Pallbearers Club. The end of this was so fun. I was not expecting what happened to happen. It was also kind of sad. This book was so interesting because I feel like there's a lot of really like somewhat funny moments, but not like haha funny, just like subtly funny. And then there's a lot of like really tough stuff with just things people go through throughout their lives and not feeling like they fit in, and the way that certain people are in our lives for specific reasons, and maybe that's good and maybe it's not. I truly don't have much else to say though, because like the plot is not a lot. Like, I don't know. I really don't know how to talk about this book. You can come up here. But I did love it. I feel like that was pretty apparent throughout the book. So we do have 5 stars and 50 points for the Pallbearers Club. I wish I had more to talk about with the book itself and like the plot, but that's just not this kind of book. Definitely would not recommend this to a lot of people, but I truly love it. So we are at 50 points for Pallbearers Club and 30 points for The Grip of It. So we have 80 out of 100 points for the Storygraph so far, and we need to pick another book. I'll come over here in Bowser's face so you can still see him. So, as usual, in the horror picks, an issue. Oh no. Okay. This has to be by a new to me author, which could be a little scary. Oh, The Loop is what I'm interested in. The Dark Between Us is another one that's come up. And the cover is just something about it I really like. Pine Organ Meats. Oh, what is this? Sisters? That cover is very cool. I like that a lot. Ken is just haunting me. Okay. They left the Pallbearers Club on here. The Need is another one I'm interested in. Okay, there are 2 that are calling to me. Bowser's very relaxed if you can hear him. Those 2 are Sisters. And Organ Meats. I don't really know. Fantasy, horror, speculative fiction. But I still kind of think that Sisters is calling to me for some reason. So we will be reading this. So I finished part 1 of Sisters. This is separated into 3 parts, but part 1 is just under halfway through the book. So we are following 2 sisters, September and July, and they are very, very close. They are 10 months apart, so they pretty much grew up doing everything together. They're the same age. They're in school together. They're in a lot of the same classes, but there's an incident that leads them and their single mother to move to this family home that is kind of not abandoned, but it has that vibe, and we don't know what has happened to them. The synopsis says something unspeakable has happened to the sisters and they are desperate for a fresh start. So they move across the country, and this family house that they're going to has its own issues. There's some weird things that are kind of happening, but it's kind of glossed over. The main focus is the relationship between July and September. Truly, I feel like not much has happened at this point. We're watching them move to this house and seeing how they interact with their mom, which is not great, and then seeing just like small glimpses into things that have happened at school. And I just think it's okay. I think that there are some moments that I'm like, this is weird, and why are they acting like this? I do have some ideas. I think that there could be this twist that comes that kind of changes the outlook on the things that have happened so far, but really we're just watching these sisters kind of grow up and their relationship with each other. I obviously knew this was going to be literary horror, but I am wanting just a little bit more of the horror, and I think that's because it's so short. The whole thing is just under 200 pages, and I just like want a little bit more tension, and we are getting a little bit between the sisters with their dynamic, but I think I want a little bit more of the creepy stuff with this house. Parts 2 and 3 are the rest of the book. So this is part 2 and this is part 3. Here's the thing. I might talk to you at the end. I might talk to you at the end of part 2. It just depends on if I have anything to say, because I feel like as of this point, I barely had anything to say and I read half the book. So we'll see. I decided to just finish Sisters and then check in with you. I guess I like had a tiny bit to say, but I figured that it wouldn't really matter if I waited or not, because truly it was not that much. So I think that I liked part 2 more because we were getting the mom's perspective. And I think that that kind of was what was causing the disconnect in the first part for me. I just found that being in these kids' heads, I wasn't getting all of the depth that I wanted, and I feel like from the mom's perspective we were getting just more emotions, which makes sense, but I think that that impacted my enjoyment. That being said, I still wasn't obsessed with it because we weren't just getting the mom's perspective, we were still getting July's perspective, and also the thing that I thought was happening, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but I wasn't really invested anyway. And then that twist just felt very obvious to me. And I do appreciate the exploration of what it was doing. I'm sorry that it's so vague, but I feel like saying what this book really is about kind of gives that twist away. And I thought it was obvious, but not everybody might. I think that this cover is very interesting. It really was the reason that I picked this book. I think that it was a good time. I also, for some reason, anytime a book is set like in the English countryside, kind of isolated, I feel like it is not a present day book. I don't know what it is, but it just like feels kind of like not, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as modern to me. But then they would mention modern things and I'd be like, what? I don't know. So that's just like my brain finding it jarring, but that was just like, I don't know, I just have that issue. I did like what it was doing. I just never felt super connected to the story, but like in the moment it was a decent read. So let's get into the points. The grip of it was 3 stars, so 30 out of 50 points. The Pallbearers Club was an absolute win with 50 out of 50 points. And then I'm going to give the sisters 3 stars, so 30 out of 50 points, which puts our total at 110. So here is the new ranking. We have 7 spots, but in first place, we have BookTube and Bookstagram. And then in third place, tied 3 ways. I'm going to continue just saying everything in the order of videos. It's not that I'm ranking one above the other. Goodreads, Kindle Unlimited, and the Storygraph with 110 points. So then in 6th place, we have Pango Books with 95 points. And in 7th place, we have Libro.fm with 90 points. You know, at least this 3-way tie is not for first place. I mean, obviously that would mean that I liked more books even more, but for the sake of the tiebreaker round, 2 is good. If you've made it to the end and want to leave me an emoji to say you were here, you can leave me a camera for the Pallbearers Club. This is a Polaroid, and I don't think there's a Polaroid emoji. Next up, I will be getting recommendations from Reddit. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, so make sure you stick around so you don't miss that. Let me know where you think Reddit is going to end up in the ranking, and I will see you very soon. Bye.